Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of Hawaii. New property going live on the website this weekend, guys. This is in a subdivision called Ocean View Estates. It is one that we have previously listed a lot of land in the past. We've had a lot of success with this, and our buyers respond really well to it for the reasons that you see outlined in the headline here: power, paved road access, relaxed zoning laws, ocean views, etc. Additionally, however, this subdivision tends to be the least expensive, most inexpensive, cheapest, however you prefer to articulate this, subdivision within not only this county, but pretty much the entire state. So it's kind of an easy buy-in to the Hawaii real estate market, which is another reason why people respond so well to it. Now, what I want to make clear at the outset here, guys, is that this listing is different than other ones we've done in the past because this is actually a combination of adjacent lots. So much as adjacent lots are difficult to find in New Mexico, they're kind of even harder to stumble upon out here. This time, however, we have this. So what we're listing today are 3 1-acre lots. We are selling all 3 of them for $21,000 or individually each one for $7,000. So in case you don't want to buy all 3, or maybe you only want to buy 2, so on and so forth. So just very quickly, I want to direct your attention to the Hawaii listings page. Once these go live, it's going to be these 3 listings plus this one down here, all 4 of these. And these will be for the individual 1-acre lots. This will be for the A property, the northern lot. This will be for the B property, the central lot. And this will be for the C property, the southern lot. Of course, all of these listing pages will be largely interchangeable. The legal information, however, will be what differs. This listing down here, however, will encompass all 3 properties and will have the legal information for all 3 properties. So each of these $7,000, this one down here $21,000, and depending on how these sell, we will remove these from the website as time goes on. So if somebody buys one of these, this will become a 2-acre for $14,000, so on and so forth. And the video that I am making right now will, of course, be posted on all 4 listing pages. With all of that out of the way, let's get to introing the property. So these are reference numbers HIHI12427A, B, and C, located in Hawaii County, aka the Big Island, specifically in the Kau'u district. These are in the Ocean View Estates subdivision, as I mentioned earlier. I'm getting notifications. And specifically, they are lots 17, 19, and 21. And I just want to quickly direct your attention down here to the plat map, where you will see Lot 17, the northern lot, Lot 19, the central lot, and Lot 21, the southern lot. Over here, there are numbers, 17, 16, 15. Ignore those completely, guys. Those are not the lot numbers. The circled numbers are the lot numbers. These are there only to confuse everyone. All right, with all that said, guys, let's bring it up on a map, show you guys exactly where it is. As with all of our listings, we've got GPS coordinates here, 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of them, and up on Google Maps, the property shall appear. So first, we're going to pull back, and let's talk about where this is within the state of Hawaii. For those of you who have not watched one of these videos before, this is Hawaii, and this down here is Hawaii County, aka the Big Island. The Big Island is separated into roughly 9 districts. The 9th district is the Kau'u district, and it sits down here in the southern portion of the island in this area, roughly in this area that I am outlining. The subject property, as noted, is in the Ocean View Estates subdivision, which if we zoom in far enough, you will see is this cutout region on the map right here. This is one of these regions where a developer came in, bought up a couple thousand acres of land, chopped everything up into roughly 1-acre lots. Pretty much the whole subdivision are uniform 1-acre lots, and then resold them all to however many separate individuals. Whatever the case, this subdivision sits just north of Hawaii Belt Road, aka the Mamalahoa Highway, aka Highway 11. This, of course, is the highway that goes around the entirety of the island in a giant circle. So, for instance, if you were to take this highway over this way, you would come to the towns such as Volcano, you would come to Mountain View up here, and if I zoom in on the map, we'll see it. Nope. Map's not going to show it to us, but I swear to God it's there, guys. Volcano, Mountain View, Curtistown up here, Kiau up here, and then, of course, the population center of the island, Hilo, in this region up here. Hilo, of course, now, when you're taking this non-direct, roundabout route around the island, Hilo is roughly about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes from the subject property. So up here, of course, is where you have all the big box stores. You have the international airport up here. You have the golf courses. You have the university, so on and so forth. Sort of the center of business and industry. And then, of course, plenty of respectable little towns in between with their own stores and restaurants, bars, so on and so forth. Of course, it should also be noted that the subject property down here at the southern part of the island is pretty close to a number of beaches. Number 1, Miloli over here. Number 2, the Papaklea green sand beaches over here. And number 3, the Punalu'u black sand beach over here. All of these are roughly a 30-minute, let's say 30-minute drive, park your car, walk down to the beach, take the trails, take the bike, whatever. All of them are roughly about 30 minutes from the property. So while this property has ocean views, I don't want to give you guys the impression that it's, 2 minutes down the road from the property itself. It's a little bit of a drive, a little bit of a bike ride, a little bit of a hike, etc. Anyway, with all that said, guys, if we zoom in here on the map, we will see where the subject property is located. This is along Catamaran Lane, just north of Ohi'a Drive, just south of Leah Parkway. And if we go to map view here, you'll see kind of representation of the plat, what I was showing you guys earlier. So this one is on the center property right here, but this is the northern property, the A property, the B property, and then this is the C property right here. And of course, if we go to satellite view and we take the little guy right here, we could drop him on the map and we can see exactly what this looks like. Of course, the Google car was out there on the worst day of the year, apparently, so it looks terrible. So I will instead direct your attention, guys, to our photo gallery down here. As always, we hire a photographer to go out to the property and shoot each property that we list on our website. So all of these are photos from the land itself. To be clear, guys, the property-specific photos begin down here, but we also have some photos of the community that kind of surrounds this region. Now, I just want to direct your attention here with the map. This property sits roughly, here's how you can do this at home. Right click, measure distance, ba-boom, put this down here. Roughly about 3.5 miles from the highway. So maybe you have to zig and zag a little bit to get down here, the way that this sort of checkerboard plat is set up. But the point is you're roughly about 3.5, 4 miles from the highway down here. In this region, you will find a number of things I'm going to show you photos of in just a second. Most notably, there are some grocery stores down here. There's some restaurants, the pizza place. There is also a hardware store down here, an Ace Hardware, which means, of course, that you'll have easy access to supplies. So if you do come out here and you start building on the land, you're only about 3.5 miles away from the nearest sort of hardware store and nearest grocery store. Of course, larger supply runs, Walmarts, Targets, things like that you're probably going into Hilo. Maybe there's one over here on the western side of the island, but Hilo is the one that I am at least aware of. Whatever the case, guys, back to the photos. So this is what is at the base of this subdivision. That's the aforementioned hardware store. We showed you the gas station, the post office, the bank. It's down here, veterinarian clinic, so on and so forth. Point being, a lot of amenities, a lot of just sort of everyday things that people need to access, maybe not every week, but every so often. They are down here in easy driving distance. So you're never too far from any of these things. And additionally, as we go through the photos here, this is sort of the entrance to the Ocean View Estates subdivision. This is what this region looks like here. And you will see that, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later in the video, they don't have a formal homeowners association, but they do have a sort of Ocean View community group, which they do a lot of work to kind of attract more business to this region, but they also do things like trying to beautify the neighborhood. They've got the Kau rubbish disposal organizations out there. We've actually hired them before to clean up a lot. And they've also got some things out here just for the family, parks, playgrounds, things like that, ball field, etc. Also, bar and grill, church, and then, of course, plenty of great trails that exist in this area because, of course, it's Hawaii, and everything out here is gorgeous. Whatever the case, as we go through these photos, then we come to the property-specific ones. From these, of course, you can see reiterated the power lines, the paved road access that is at the base of the property. I think our photographer is at the corner right here when he's taking these photos. But the point is, you do see that this is a pretty developed area and access, easy road access and utilities, etc. And then, of course, here are the aforementioned stunning ocean views. Of course, it should also be pointed out, guys, if we come back to the map, or if you zoom in, and you hold down the control key and you kind of wiggle the mouse, you can see that this property sits sort of on the side of, we'll call it a mountain, sits sort of on a hillside, whatever. So the point is that the further north you go within the subdivision, the higher the elevation, which means that when you build up in an area like this, which I believe is around 3,800 feet in elevation, you've got some pretty good views, and it also means that when people build around you, they're not blocking your views. So those are some of the other benefits, of course, of buying out here. Now, as we get to the subject property right here, what you're going to see is there's, of course, the usual lava rock that exists out here that's very common in this region, and, of course, some young native ohi'a trees. What our photographer told us is that the early part of the lot, meaning from the road. This area is fairly easy to kind of walk through, fairly easy to navigate through. As you go through it, however, and you get to the back third of the property, that's when the vegetation becomes really dense. So just an FYI. Now, for those of you who haven't watched one of these videos before, the way that land gets cleared out here, the way that you take a piece of property like this and you turn it into a flat thing that you can start building on or parking cars on or whatever, is you tend to get a grubbing and grading permit, and that's where you hire someone basically with a bulldozer to come out and flatten all this down. And bulldozers are actually, this is kind of a cottage industry from what I have learned in this area, because generally anybody who buys land needs to do something like this to get it cleared. So the grubbing and grading permits are usually pretty easy to get, and to find somebody with a bulldozer is not too difficult either. Whatever the case, we'll return to that topic in just a little bit. Anyway, as we go through this, more photos of the land. These back half of the photos, this is some of the more dense vegetation that's on the back end of all three of these properties, and you can kind of get a sense of how tall that is here. Also, there's some property boundary markers that were placed by the neighbors out here. They'll at least give you a sense, at least if you're buying the northern or the southern lots, let's say. They will give you a sense of some of the boundary of the property, though, of course, I don't believe the whole thing is staked out, so it may be something that requires a surveyor if you really do want to get, an excellent sense of exactly where the property begins and ends. These sort of boundary markers are a little rudimentary, but they may at least be able to guide you initially if you purchase the property the first couple times that you're out there. Anyway, so there's 1, 2, and then there's 3. This looks like a little bit of fencing with the neighboring property, but all of these are kind of marked out there. And then, of course, from the property, our photographer also took photos of some of the nearby houses. This is a water catchment system, and I will return to that later in the video. Anyway, then, of course, we've got the drone shots with the outline of the property. I just want to show you guys, you'll notice that the neighboring property kind of ends right here, and this neighboring property ends right here. And we're saying that this property goes all the way back like this. If you looked at the plat earlier, this person's lot is the same depth as the 3 that we're selling. So if you're wondering how come his lot ends here, my guess is because the vegetation becomes so thick back here. So just something to be aware of. Anyway, of course, as we go through these, you will see more of the representation, the general footprint of the property in the photos, etc. Anyway, and this, of course, is the neighbor's property across the street. All right, guys, so with all that said, let's talk about the Ocean View Estates community. So up here we have the Ocean View Estates Community Association, a link to their website, and we also have that reiterated up here in the table. So point being, if you click on this, it's going to take you to their website where you can read more about this organization. Now, let me say up front, this is not an HOA. This is not an organization that charges fees every year. And if you scroll down just a little bit, guys, notice the OVCA is a nonprofit corporation and is not affiliated with any homeowners association or road maintenance, blah, blah, blah. Does not pertain in business or political affairs specifically. No. Anyway, the point is, guys, is that this is not an organization that charges you ticky-tack fees throughout the year. This is not an organization that comes up with arbitrary covenants and restrictions that they like to enforce and fine you for. This is just an organization that's out there to sort of promote the community, to have, from what I gather, let's say, I don't know, community events, things where they just kind of get all the neighbors together and everybody gets to meet everybody, and they have, they organize things like that, in addition to trying to attract business to the region. Whatever the case, this is a pretty comprehensive website. If you read through this, you'll learn a lot about the organization, a lot about what they do, how they've kind of built up the region over the years, and exactly how hands-off they are with people who own property within their subdivision. Now, in that little disclaimer that I read to you, they also said that they're not affiliated with any road maintenance organization. Like most subdivisions in Hawaii, what you will find is that there is a road maintenance organization which operates sometimes independent of the HOA, sometimes not. This one, of course, is independent, but if you click on this link down here, or even the one that we have up in the table up top, it will take you to this website. And unfortunately, this is dating the time that this video is being made right before St. Patrick's Day. But the point is that this is the road maintenance organization that takes care of all the roads within this region. And we've listed a bunch of properties out there. I have never seen bad roads in this area. They're all pretty well maintained, and this site is pretty informative and kept up to date and gives you a lot of information about just any road maintenance projects that they're working on, et cetera, et cetera. Additionally, here on this website, you can also usually find people who are renting bulldozers the aforementioned bulldozers to come out and, quote, doze the land. Now, it should be noted, however, that we're talking about a road maintenance organization. Because of that, they do have annual fees that are associated with the property with the road maintenance. Now, we have those up here in the table. Those are $150 per property or $450 for all three. So if you buy all three lots, you're going to have a $450 bill annually from the Road Maintenance Corporation. Of course, I'm sure they're very flexible at how you pay that. I think it's like half at the start of the year, half at the middle of the year, so on and so forth. But that $450 is associated with that. If you buy one of the individual lots, it will just be $150. And while we're doing math, guys, the annual taxes on these properties are $200 per lot. If you buy all three, it will be $600 per lot. There we go. Anyway, point is, both of those websites are very informative. I would encourage anybody who's seriously considering buying land out here to visit those websites that are listed right here. Anyway, with that said, I showed you guys a picture of a water catchment system earlier. And for those of you who don't own land in Hawaii, who haven't bought land in Hawaii, haven't watched one of these videos before, this is a very common way to get water out here. It rains a lot. Understatement. It rains a lot in Hawaii, and because of that, you can actually have one of these water catchment tanks, very common way of getting water for bathing water, drinking water, so on and so forth. Now, if you don't know anything about this, if you don't know what the logistics are that are involved with this, what the county requires as far as X thousand gallons on property at any one time, whatever rules and stipulations go with that, I would encourage you guys, it's always best to reach out to vendors who set these things up in a given region. When we talk about New Mexico properties, I always encourage our buyers, reach out to well drillers. If that's your intention to drill a well, reach out to well drillers, talk about the cost with them. In Hawaii, we don't drill wells, we put up these water catchment tanks. Whatever the case, Waterworks Hawaii is a company that we like to link to on this page. This is not an endorsement. They have not paid us for this, but it's the first one that came up in the Google search, let's say. Point being, they do this professionally. They install these tanks. And if you have questions about the aforementioned logistics, whether it's actually getting the thing set up or getting the thing permitted, how much water do I need to have on hand? How does this work? So on and so forth. We highly recommend talk to these people, talk to organizations like this, and they can walk you through the practical realities of having one of these things feeding water into your home site on the land out here. Also, guys, in this part of the county contact information, we also have here the Hawaii Electric Company, Helco. These are the people who control the grid that's out here in this area, the power lines that are in this region. Point being, if you click on that link, it'll take you to this website where you can learn more about that. If you have questions about specifically getting power to whatever structure you intend on building on the property, these, of course, would be the people to reach out to. They can talk to you about whatever costs are associated with that. So we like to make those available to our buyers. I will just also point out here, guys, we've also got the sort of points of interest. These are some of the aforementioned beaches that I was talking about before and some of the nearby things. There's, of course, 7 million things to do on this island. We could have had a points of interest that was 3 pages long. We chose to keep it brief. But the point being is any one of these links will give you a little more idea of what goes on in the region and how you too can enjoy it should you elect to build and live out there. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, guys, one more thing I want to point out, which is we have a lot of buyers who come to these pages because they see this thing about relaxed zoning laws. I don't want to give you guys the impression that zoning law is non-existent in this area. That's not what that means. What I mean by relaxed zoning law when we say that is that it's a region where green, sustainable living is encouraged, where it's not forbidden, where it's not made so prohibitively expensive that nobody can afford to do it because of the permitting process. It's not like parts of New Mexico where they make you jump, and probably the other, lower 48, where they make you jump through hoops to do things like live out of an RV or build a tiny home or build a shipping container or live out of a yurt or whatever. So I don't want to give you guys the impression that, you can go do anything that you want. My guess is you can, but you should always talk to the county about the permitting process and what's involved in that. And everything that we know about this region is that they're pretty hands-off, and they pretty much allow a lot of the things that I just mentioned. We've seen yurts in this region. We've seen shipping containers in this region, so on and so forth. And another thing we like to point out on the table down here, we've got this channel, Off Grid Hawaii YouTube channel. They haven't posted in a while, but when they do post, they do a lot of really informative videos. And if you're one of these people who wants to kind of live a life like this, where you grow your own food, you live out of a shipping container, etc., if you haven't stumbled upon this channel, they've actually got some really good information here, particularly things like about compost toilets and about gardening out here and so on and so forth. So I'd highly recommend, guys, if this is one of your interests, this is one of the reasons why you're looking at one of these 1 acre properties or all 3, it's an excellent channel to check out. They've got a lot of good videos on here. blah, blah, blah. Anyway, with all that said, guys, if these properties are of interest to you, I would encourage you to come up here, click the Buy Now button. It will take you to a secure checkout where we will ask you for the non-refundable, guys, let me say that again, non-refundable. We've got some people who like to give us $500 for no reason at all and then never want to buy a property. Don't do that, okay? Give us the money when you're prepared to buy the property. Whatever the case, we're going to ask you for a couple things here. Legal name for deed, marital status. We need that for Hawaii deeds, tax address, etc. You tell us how you want to close on this, whether it's paying the whole thing with credit or debit, or whether it's through title and escrow, or maybe you need to talk to us more about that. We give you the options down here. But you tell us, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, we will ask for credit or debit card information to place that, again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. Now, let's just be clear, guys. So we've got 3 1-acre lots, and then we've got a 3-acre lot. And if you check out on one of the 1-acre pages, you're buying one of the 1-acre properties. And if you want to buy 2 of them, just let us know. We're going to talk to you within 24 hours of you placing that deposit. We can expand on that conversation then. Or if you want to buy all 3 of these, it's best to check out on this page, the page that actually says the price of $21,000. Whatever the case, if you make a mistake, we'll figure it out when we talk to you on the phone. But the point here is that whether you're closing on 1 of these or 2 of these or all 3 of these, you have the choice of closing through our attorney. And the way that process works is basically we pay for the closing costs. We pay our attorney to draft a new deed plus the conveyance documents. They get it to us in a day or 2. Once you approve it, then we get it recorded and the property is transferred into your name. If, however, you either don't trust that or you want title insurance with the property and you want to close through a title company, that's fine as well. The way that process works, again, is you just put down the $500. You tell us you want to do that, and we're going to send you a sale purchase agreement instead of a deed. And the sale purchase agreement is something that we will take to the title company, and they will do their job slowly, probably over the course of about a month. If you'd like to learn more about that process, guys, we've got the How It Works Buying From Us page up here. We always recommend our buyers check this out, particularly if you don't have a good sense of what the title escrow process is like. These are the basics. You place the earnest money deposit, we draft a contract, we sign it, you sign it, we submit it to title, they do the rest. And usually about a month later, they're requesting that we sign a deed and that you wire them, not us, wire them the funds. So the benefit, of course, here is not only that you're getting title insurance, but that you've got a third-party intermediary who is essentially protecting your funds. If there are any, if there are any issues or whatever, the money, of course, will not be released to us until such a time as the property is in your name. And for the record, guys, if you'd like to see what that sale purchase agreement looks like, in case you're like, hey, I'm not putting down $500 until I see what this contract I'm going to be asked to sign looks like, just click this link right here. It will take you to this this contract page where you will see a sort of a generic version of one of our standard contracts. Very simple, one page for signatures. It should be noted, guys, title companies don't do anything until they have a contract demonstrating intent, quote, demonstrating intent for buyer and seller. And of course, we don't draft those until we have an earnest money deposit. So if you do have questions about that, check the contract out in advance. One last thing, guys, that I want to show you here is that on this page, we also link to Hawaii Federal Credit Union. This is one of the few lenders that we have encountered that lends on vacant land. Whatever the case, this will take you to their website. We don't endorse this organization. We haven't worked with them, but I just put it out here because so many people call us about financing, and financing is not something that we can generally do. It's certainly not at an interest rate this affordable, 3.75%. That's pretty good. So if this is one of these things where you've got some of the money, most of the money, not all of the money, and you do need financing, maybe best to reach out to, or at least check out their website, Google, vacant land lenders in Hawaii, see what you can find. But their lending program is enumerated here. There's a lot of detail about it. You can learn more about that, and perhaps it may be the right fit for you, particularly because we don't finance property. Anyway, oh my God, guys, I'm 23 minutes into the video. For all of you who had the patience to sit through this, thank you very much. I appreciate it. New Hawaii property, 3 acres. We don't get a lot of adjacent lots out there, so this is going to give you exponentially more room than all the neighbors have. And of course, that's a benefit not only for privacy, but if you're doing something special like building an Airbnb out here, Hawaii gets 10 million tourists a year. It's a good cottage industry, and of course, you will have even more land to exploit with a really special property that you can list on Airbnb and start making some passive income that way. Anyway, guys, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.